the sports teams that exist. Certain countries have a big one or two, but we're proud to say our podcast is about the biggest team in the entire world.
And the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys?
Yeah! This is the World's Team Podcast. All about the world's team, the Dallas Cowboys, baby. We're here to redefine what it means to be a fan of the gridiron game. It's not just America's team anymore. Nope. We're taking that star-studded pride and spreading it across the globe. Each week, we dive into all things Cowboys. From game analysis that'll have you on the edge of your seat, to reactions and all the latest news. Whether it's free agency frenzy, draft day drama, or injury reports that make us want to hug our lucky jerseys a little tighter. We're bringing in fan groups from all over the place, from Germany, France, Brazil, the UK, Canada, Japan. Everybody gets to share their 2 cents on America's favorite team.
Here we go!
America's team! Mexico's team! World's team! My Dallas Cowboys!
And now your hosts, Paul Stewart and Mike Poland.
Hello, Cowboys Nation. It is the 7th of August, 2024, and welcome to another episode of the World's Team. Remember, it's not just America's team, it is the World's Team. And as always, I am joined by my partner in crime, Mr. Mike Poland, where you can find him on bloggingabouts.com. Be sure to go and check out his articles. But yes, Mike, how are we doing, man? I have to say, we're finally here. We're doing our first ever pre-game show.
Hold me. Yeah, I mean, long off season. I mean, this one's been a slog. We've been doing loads of work this off season, number of different shows and podcasts and radio, all the rest of it. Done loads this off season, like it's been through the roof. But we're finally here. We're finally at week 1, and that means we're at the maximum amount of football that we get for the season. We're right at the very start. We have so much football. It's a long slog, but there is only one trouble, Paul.
What?
That once week 1 begins, we revert to living in 2 time zones, UK and Central Time.
Unfortunately, well, depending if the game's in California or anything like that, then we have to stay up even later. So there's always that, and that means I am losing more follicles in my hair. So,
and you don't have many left.
No, I don't. All my hair's now going down to here. I look like Grizzly Adams right now, so it's not looking great. But seriously, we're in a really comedy mood right now. So a lot of people don't know this, right? So yesterday we were on our sponsors podcast, Cowboys Experience, and we had Sam Williams on the show. We had
great to see him.
Yep, I say a Standback on the show, and also we actually had Dixon Edwards on the show, and we went into a bit of a weird twist of a conversation during the show.
Again with him, mind. Yet again.
Dixon.
With Dixon, those conversations always go.
Yeah, he asked me what I thought about AI, and I obviously we were it just went completely outfield, and after the show, I did ponder. Right, I was like, okay, AI can do quite a lot of things, right? And I thought I'm gonna just mess about with some music AI, see if I can type in some words and if it will make a song, and it did, and and this is like I think it's pretty cool, all things considering. You've not heard this, mate. So this is going to be your first reaction to hearing this, right? So, and hopefully, I don't think this will get copyright striked on YouTube or Spotify or whatever.
Oh no, it can't.
because it can.
It's an original song.
It's original song, and we're not owning it, but it's I think it's pretty cool. But just for the next 2 minutes, I'm going to play the song, and I would love to hear people's thoughts on this because I think it's pretty cool. But without further ado, I'm going to play the music that was generated by AI, all thanks to Dixon Edwards' bizarre chat about artificial intelligence. So here we go.
Oh, no.
Texas star shining bright in the dome.
Oh, okay.
Legends making it home. Stephen A. be hating, saying me overrated, but we got fans worldwide who can debate. Not just America's team, but the world's team. From Tokyo to Paris, you know they all scream.
Yeah.
Not bad, right?
Yeah, it's all right. I'm surprised.
But the world's team, the world's team. Just stop like tossing bombs like grenades. There's Carter, Shannon Sharp throwing shade, but we stacking chips like poker in Vegas. Worldwide Cowboys nation, ain't nobody can fade us. Not just America's team, but the world's team. From Tokyo to Paris, you know they all scream. Blue and silver pride, ride or die is the thing. Not just America's team, but the world's team. But the world's team. Flags waving flags from Sydney to Rio. Dallas gear everywhere, it's no placebo. Critics run their mouths, act like we low-key. But the world's gone crazy, Cowboys fever, can't you see? Not just America's team, but the world's team. From Tokyo to Paris, you know they all scream. Blue and silver pride, ride or die is the thing. Not just America's team, but the world's team. But the world's team.
Yeah. Phil Lincoln Parky now.
Well, it's like it's kind of like a solo in a way. It's not bad, right?
Yeah, no, I like it.
Fans waving flags from Sydney to Rio. Dallas gear everywhere, it's no placebo. Critics run their mouths, act like we low-key. But the world's gone crazy, Cowboys fever, can't you see? Not just America's team, but the world's team. From Tokyo to Paris, you know they all scream. Blue and silver pride, ride or die is the thing. Not just America's team, but the world's team. But the world's team.
Yeah. So yeah, that was it. I was like, holy crap, it's actually pretty not bad, all things considered.
All right.
I did specifically say not just America's team, but the world's team to be the chorus. I did specify that, and it generated the song in 20 seconds. But
I know,
what
that's what's scary.
Yeah,
It does it like.
And what I'll do, I will provide the link in the description of the YouTube video and Spotify, so anyone can hear it directly if they wish. So, but yeah, it was just like, man, that was pretty cool. But anyway. Anyway, enough of the comedy. We're here for one thing and one thing only, and that is the pre-game show, the season opener against the Cleveland Browns. We're finally here, Mike. We are finally here. And like you said, football's finally arrived. Obviously, we got to see the Chiefs play the Baltimore Ravens. That was quite an interesting game. Crazy ending. So just to start off with the pre-game show, Mike, hit us with the injury report.
Yes. So for the Cowboys, we know John Holmes said John Stevens Jr., the tight end. Yeah, it's excitability, mate. And that song has got me buzzing. All right,
it's a hype song.
It's a hype song. We'll have to use that in some clips now, mate. It's worth it for some fun. But yeah, anyway, John Stevens Jr. He's out for Dallas. Obviously, you know, twin tight ends. There's Brevin Spanford as well. For Cleveland, though, this is significant, extremely significant. The right tackle, their right tackle Conklin, he's questionable to start. So you kind of like already you're like, ooh, okay, that doesn't sound good. How effective he's going to be if this is the case. But left tackle Jedrick Wills, he's out, done. Now, that is insanely significant, especially when you add other parts to it with Nick Chubb being out, which means Jerome Ford is going to be taking the lead running back role, but also Deshaun Watson.
Yep,
Like, he's going to be seriously affected.
It's his first game back from coming from shoulder surgery, I believe, as well.
Yeah, yeah. Last time he played was week 9 of last year.
Yeah. And here's the interesting part as well. Before the announcement of Jedrick Wells, the Cowboys were slight underdogs going into this game.
Okay.
They were like 49.5% to win this game, where the Browns taking like 50.5%.
Yeah.
Now, the final injury reports now came out. The Dallas Cowboys are now 51.5%. So there's a slight shift in Cowboys' favor. But I still think, with all things considered, I think the predictions are kind of somewhat being a bit hasty on the Cowboys in a way, because when you look at the squad that we do have, I do think we've got the better firepower offensively and defensively. So I can't really
That's a bold statement, but go on, carry on.
Well, potentially, but don't get me wrong, the Browns defense is fantastic. It's going to be a tough one to crack. But the only thing for the Cleveland Browns offense, I'm kind of obviously concerned, is probably much Amari Cooper.
It's a
Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I'm really concerned about, is because we all know what Amari Cooper's all about. His separation from breaking away from corners is just elite level. It really is. And still to this day, we are still kicking ourselves. Why did we trade him away? We still are saying that today. We are. Yeah. Like, it's truly bizarre, but I can understand it from the business point of view, but that's the past. But I think with going into this game, this is a great opportunity for our defensive line to really, really punish Cleveland. I really do. You've got Micah Parsons.
He's going to feast.
You've got Marshawn Nealon, the rookie. You've got DeMarcus Lawrence, and you've got that extra firepower to back up like Mazzie Smith. So this is very interesting. And don't forget also Digizua, who's going to be playing our FTech. I'm expecting big things for him this season. Big things.
Yeah, so with both tackles suspect, right? So we know one's gone, the other one, how effective he's going to be, we don't know. So straight away, Micah Parsons is just going to have a field day here, because this is where he will take you to the wood shop, and that's with your stars. They're gone now, and you've got backup players. That's not looking great. But what happens is, with Micah and the way that Mike Zimmer is going to deploy him as like this movable piece up and down the line, is that he's going to get more concentration put on him. So because the rest of the offensive line is going to maybe double team him and all that, that frees up the rest of the defensive line. And it's going to free to get to Watson. Watson's already going to be shaky. He's not going to be throwing deep. He's definitely not going to be, because of that shoulder injury, as you say, and he's had surgery. So that eliminates the deep ball, which eliminates Jerry Jeudy, who is now on his second team within his rookie contract.
Yeah, the Jerry Jeudy situation is an interesting one. I have to say. There's no doubt in my mind he is a good player, but he's not really lived up to the expectations in the NFL level. He hasn't. Like, what is it, Mike? He's only scored 2 touchdowns or something like that last year, and
11 since he came into the NFL, and this is his 5th year in the NFL now.
Yeah, it's definitely not what you would expect for a first-round draft pick who was actually selected higher than CD Lamb.
Yeah, I mean, this was the Alabama, he was the Marvin Harrison of that year's, or Marvin Harrison Jr., because he's just got drafted, but he was that guy in that draft class. Everyone was like, you've got to get Jeudy. In Alabama, he was fantastic. What he did put Alabama right up there, because the dude was great. Just for whatever reason, he's got to the NFL. You could perhaps talk about the Denver Broncos offense, the issues there. But at the same time, the Cleveland Browns offense has its own issues too. Like only 24 passing touchdowns or receiving touchdowns last year, which it puts them in the lower half of the league. In terms of passing and even in rushing, it's not great. The offense is struggling. It struggled last year. It's going to struggle still with Watson at the moment. But here's a big one, Paul. We haven't spoken about this yet. For me, I think it is. But is this a make or break year for Watson now?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, considering what the Cleveland Browns paid for him, like I think based on his contract and the situation where his career stands right now, I think this is a big moment for him. Like this is like I think this could potentially be a do or die. Like if Watson if Watson doesn't perform this year, you have to expect the Browns to kind of look for alternative options next year.
Yeah.
Like because there's a lot of good quarterbacks coming into the draft next year as well. So
yeah. Since he's got to Cleveland, 14 this is in 2 years, so this is his third year. 14 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. And he played in 6 games last year, 6 games the year before that.
It's not a good return for Cleveland fans, I have to say. Like,
on offense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, like speaking about like of the offense and stuff like that, obviously we've now got CD Lamb returning, which is going to be a good bonus. We've also got our trio of running backs, which is obviously Zeke, Rico Dowdle, and Deuce Vaughn out there. And don't forget, we've got Hunter Luepke out there. Very interesting to see how we're going to utilize him in this game. Very interested to see that. But here's my question for you, Mike. Do you think CD Lamb is going to get a lot of attention in terms of getting like targets thrown at him in this game?
You have to keep the Cleveland defense honest. So you have to take your chances. And I think that goes in terms of CD Lamb and Jake Ferguson. You've got to really utilize both in this game. Jake, because you need Fergie. I call him Jake. like we're best mates. Go, yo, Jakey. No, but you got to put Fergie in that middle and trying to split the safeties. You've got to try and split them up a little bit. Yeah. That is going to help CD Lamb in the long run. But like, if they do decide to go down the road of double teaming CD Lamb because they see him as this huge threat, that really does open up Fergie. But what is ironic is they were really good at defending tight ends last year. They were the best team. They allowed the fewest receptions to tight ends last year. But
here's the difference, though, Mike. Here's the difference, though. They haven't played against Jake Ferguson. Fergie. That's all I've got to say. Ferguson's I'm going to call it right now. Jake Ferguson's going to have a fantastic season this year, right? So. Yeah. He's going like since he came to the Cowboys from Wisconsin, he's been going from strength to strength. He took over the starting role from Dalton Schultz, and every season after that, he's getting better and better and better. And he's bringing that attitude to the team. Like he likes to get in defense's faces. He's not afraid to like step up to the plate. Like that's what I love about Jake Ferguson. Love it. So I think that he's just going to go on and actually have a fat killer of a season, and he will be due up for a big contract at some point. But funny that you mentioned about tight ends, Mike. David Njoku. We talked about this on the UK Cowboys as without is it right? So correct me if I'm wrong here, Mike. Without Deshaun Watson, Njoku is actually more effective.
Yes.
When Deshaun Watson was actually on the field, Njoku is not targeted barely at all.
No. So in the 6 games that he played with Watson, he averaged 3.7 receptions per game, which would put him over the 6-game period would rank him as the 18th tight end in terms of receptions. And people say, oh man, but like that's a starting tight end. That means he's below average of starting tight ends in the NFL. But obviously when Watson wasn't in there, I mean, you're talking like you see a complete shift. It's like 8 receptions, 9 receptions.
Yeah, he was
Really
scoring like double touchdowns in certain
yeah.
games and stuff like that. I was like, well, hold on a minute. Then his fantasy football stock really rose up because
That's it.
he was that was the main difference, because he was getting a different quarterback. I actually trusted him more compared to what Deshaun Watson trusts.
I think in the games, if you count the games without Deshaun Watson, I think he ended up finishing like as the 7th or 8th tight end. The difference is that much.
Yeah. So yeah, I find that truly bizarre. So what is your thoughts then, Mike? Do you think Njoku is going to be a big factor in this game?
So here's and I kind of I was looking at that statistic and thinking, wow, so that takes Njoku out of the game. Cowboys allowed the second fewest receptions to the tight end position last year, so they are good at defending tight ends. But here's what I think. Amari Cooper's going to be on the outside. And you brought this up, and it made me think. And I was like, I never actually thought of that. That he's had the shoulder surgery. Deep balls, intermediate balls are going to be a bit of a struggle too. So he's going to be throwing the short passes. So what is the best person to throw short passes to? Your slot receiver or your tight end? So I wonder if that means that Njoku gets kind of force-fed a little bit. But if that does, think about how that's going. If that's the case, guys like Donovan Wilson can start to sneak their way in. You know, you can bring your defense in a little bit, because if they're playing short and they're going
coming in for the kill, Mike, coming in for the kill.
Exactly. You know, you're just like the shark smelling blood in the water. And we all know what this defense can do when it smells blood in the water. That as soon as it does it, it will take over a game. Colts game is a perfect example of that. You give them one sniff and the game is over.
Definitely. So before we do move on to the next thing I do want to talk about for the Dallas Cowboys against the Cleveland Browns, let's just give a big shout out to our sponsor, and we'll be back with you in a short moment.
The World's Team Podcast is brought to you by Cowboys Experience, the ultimate Cowboys experience with stadium tours, meet and greets, tailgating, game tickets, and much more. For more information, please go to www.cowboysexperience.com.
Yes, folks, be sure to go to cowboysexperience.com and be sure to tell Barry and Michael that we send you over, and be sure to use the discount code WorldsTeam2024 to receive, obviously, discount on your package and get some free stuff. But yes, Mike, this is the thing I've been really want to talk about the most. I've been talking about this for God knows how long now. It's finally here. It's going to be the battle within the trenches, and there's one part in particular is our rookie left tackle, Tyler Gain, against defensive MVP, one of the best NFL defensive players in the league, and Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
I'm nervous, but I'm excited at the same time about this matchup. So first of all, tell me your thoughts about this.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm in two camps with this. Is that I'm nervous because this is a rookie left tackle. Even in, when we talk about him in Oklahoma, we kind of like say, yeah, it was good, but there's some rusty parts to this, and there's also parts of his tape that are missing because of various reasons, which we talked about way back in the draft shows. So it makes you nervous. I mean, I know Myles Garrett, watched him, all back in his days in the Aggies.
So just for anyone who's unaware, Mike, that way, is an Aggies fan. So if you're a Longhorns fan, let them have it, folks. Let them have it.
I don't mind. I was just about to pick up my Aggies flag, but I remember
Don't you dare wave that on this show.
No, I mean, Myles Garrett, he will completely take over a game. Like this, so as bad as the Cleveland Browns offense is, people will say, we've talked about how bad the Cleveland Browns are, and they're like, well, hold on, the Browns made the playoffs. Right, the Browns were second in the AFC North. Fantastic. Yeah, they really, I think 11-5, I think they finished. 11-5? 11-6 they finished on, I believe, last year. I could be right. It's 11 wins. But anyway, like, they did what they did off the back of the defense. You could talk about the secondary. Brown's secondary are great, but the Browns secondary are also great because of what happens up front. Zadarius Smith and Myles Garrett, it's their show. Zadarius Smith gets the benefit of less, what's the word I'm looking for? Attention. He gets less attention on his side because everybody's paying so much attention on Myles Garrett.
Because he is like the highest paid player. Yeah, he's the game wrecker. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So like Zadarius Smith is a fantastic player, as we know.
Yeah, he
and
is.
You're right.
In his own right.
And you have to remember as well, he is going up against. He's likely to. Well, Garrett and Smith are likely going to swap ends from time to time during the game. But so it's going to be a test for obviously Terrence Steele as well. Like going up against Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith, as well as Tyler Guyton going up against both of these guys. So, but kind of focusing back onto Myles Garrett and Guyton in particularly.
Yeah, I tell you what, Paul. While you're saying that, because you love offensive line and defensive line. What is it then, right? And you can go back to your point in a minute. I just want, because I haven't asked you this. What is it that Tyler Guyton, what technique or what is it that he needs to do in order to win? Is the best way to describe what I'm trying to say. What does he need to do to win this weekend? Setting on the edge on the left tackle, because he's on his own. He's isolated over there. What does he need to do to win?
Quite simply, keep a full body in front of Myles Garrett. Do not let Myles Garrett get half of your body, because if he takes half your body, he's likely to going to throw the rip move or actually use his leverage against him, overpower him. Exactly. That's the simplest way of doing it. So whether it's how his pass protection may be, he might have to overstep and overcommit to like just to seal the block. There's that potential. If Myles Garrett decides to cut back inside, we need to make sure that like Guyton can actually still like move back inside to just to seal it back in. And when it comes to being engaged, it's just get up close and personal. Do not give him that space to throw out the arm and create that separation. So that to me is one of the keys for me anyway. But for likes of this matchup, Mike, if Tyler Guyton can prevail against the great that is Myles Garrett, our confidence levels in terms of, I mean, we had questions about Guyton when we drafted him. We really did.
Yeah.
Like, and for me, I even question it myself, but who are we to say, who are we to question the Cowboys front office when it comes to drafting offensive linemen? Like, we haven't failed yet as of yet in the past 10, 12 years drafting offensive linemen in the first round who've not met expectations. Tyler Smith has been to the Pro Bowl. He's been great. Zach Martin, he's going to be in the Cowboys like Ring of Honor one day. Like Travis Frederick, again, legend. Tyron Smith, absolutely. Like he obviously is now away off to the Jets, but he had a fantastic career with the Cowboys. Obviously, injuries played them, but every time we draft an offensive lineman in the first round, it seems to be we've just struck a diamond. Like I still remember going back to what was it, 2014, when we drafted Zach Martin. Everyone questioned, why did we pick him over Johnny Manziel? Sorry, mate. I had to throw that in there.
No.
But because everyone's like, oh, we should have got a quarterback because Tony Romo was pretty much going to retire at some point, etc.
I didn't want them to draft Johnny Manziel.
I know a lot of people didn't. Didn't. Like, people felt it would have been too much bravado already and adding Johnny Manziel to the equation to the Dallas Cowboys would have been a recipe for disaster. And funny enough, about Johnny Manziel, he'd have drafted to the Cleveland Browns, who we're going to play against.
Correct.
So I kind of went full sucker there. See what I did there?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
But
it's all connecting the dots, mate.
Yeah, kind of. But can I go? But for this is going to be a massive test for Tyler Guyton. Obviously, throughout his whole college career, he primarily played on the right side, like protecting the blind side of his quarterback. I believe he was left-handed. I
Lefty,
believe.
yeah, he's a
Yep.
lefty. Yeah, he was a lefty.
Yep. So, and he has obviously, I've stated this a few times on this show and other shows, that Tyler Guyton, through media appearances, has stated saying he much prefers playing on the left side. He's getting to work with the great and powerful Duke Manyweather, who has helped plenty of offensive linemen to get ready for the pro levels within the NFL. If you don't know who Duke Manyweather is, I suggest you look him up. The guy is like an offensive lineman genius.
Just download the app, the Mastermind app.
Yeah, O-line masterminds. Please go and download it. It's like, if you're wanting to know about like the techniques and stuff like that, it's just full of knowledge. How to throw the correct pass protection in terms of footwork, in terms of hand placement, in terms of actually how to engage within the inside run block, all those type of things. It's just ridiculous. It's like what to do if the defensive end's out to a 9 wide technique, for example, to what Myles Garrett's going to do, or comparison to your traditional defensive forefront, where your defensive end is going to be like a 5 tech, or you need to block double team the inside with your guard, who's pretty much lined up as a 3 tech. Who knows? There's all those different aspects you need to think about. So go and check it out, folks. He's really good. But like I said, if Tyler Guyton can prevail in this game and nullify Myles Garrett in terms of like not getting to Dak Prescott, not giving up any pressures, not giving up any sacks, this is going to be massive for the Cowboys. That would be huge. It would be massive. Like, the chances are Myles Garrett is going to have the upper hand in some parts of the game.
It's going to happen.
That's what he does, and that's what he does best. We know that's going to happen, but I think for my expectations, as long Guyton does not get embarrassed throughout the whole game, like if we could, like, see, but I think the thing that I'll be very interested in is, like, if, for example, if Guyton was to give up maybe a pressure that kind of led up to a sack, how does he rebound from that? How does he like come back? It's like, okay, I know how I screwed up. I know what to do now. I know how Myles Garrett works now. I know how to stop him. If he can do that, man, do you imagine what it's going to be like for the season going ahead? It's going to give that. It's not just for Tyler Guyton's confidence. It's for Dak Prescott's confidence as well.
Yeah.
Forward. Like it's all connected. It's all connected, man.
Yeah. Like I think for me, I agree with it. If he goes for 0 sacks against Garrett, then wow. I mean, like you can completely rip the sticker off this draft pick. But like for me, I think you kind of, if he does allow a sack or 2, you can't be too harsh on him and be like, this is a bust. And you're like
he's a rookie. We need to remember, remember Tyron Smith when he was a rookie as well. The amount of mistakes he made in his rookie season, and look where he became to be. Look at even Zach Martin in the early part of his first season. He made a couple of mistakes, not as significant what Tyler Smith did in his early parts of the season, but look at the player he has become today.
But also, I was going to say Garrett as well. Myles Garrett has gone up against Pro Bowl veteran tackles in this league and embarrassed them. So if you're going to sit there and go, because, Guyton allows a sack and a few pressures in this game, you can't turn around and say that's a bust, because you're too early out the gun. For me, the big one I don't want to see from Guyton, Paul, pre-snap penalties.
That's a great thing. I'm so glad you mentioned that, Mike. And that's one thing we've not actually talked about, funny enough, is that was a bit of a woe still at some points last year.
Yeah.
Hopefully, as a collective, the offensive line can nullify those mistakes by not giving up false start penalties or offsides, wherever that may be.
Yeah.
Holding calls, you name it. If we can limit that down and just keep the ball moving going forward, then
keep it clean.
For me, being a guy that's played in the trenches, I'll be extremely happy with that. I would be.
That would be a win for me. If you turned around to me and you said, like, Guyton, he had 1 sack like a handful of pressures allowed, but you had 0 penalties, I'd be like, what a start. That's against Myles Garrett and the Cleveland Browns, that defensive line, that's an A+ for me.
Yeah. Another question I do have, though, is, and it's still in regards to the offensive line. Obviously, this is also Cooper Beebe's first game as well.
Yeah, of course.
All right, so obviously he's going to be league set up. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dalvin Tomlinson is going to be playing this game, correct?
Believe so. I haven't. Let me just check. I'll check very quickly.
But and also there's Shelby Harris, the other defensive tackle.
Dalvin Tomlinson limited. He was limited all week, but his game status is it's not down as questionable. But what is interesting is he has a knee injury and was limited in practice all week.
Interesting. So, and that was the same with Quentin Jefferson, I believe, as well. Was it not?
Quentin Jefferson, Achilles. He was limited Wednesday, Thursday. He did register a full practice on Friday.
Right. Okay. So that's going to be very interesting. Because the reason I asked that is, even though we've got those guys there, but I'm kind of, for Cooper Beebe, and even for Zach Martin and Tyler Smith, as picking up the blitz.
Yeah.
From Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Jordan Hicks, and Devin Bush. Those 3 guys. That
Hicks is the one you need to watch, yeah.
Yeah, the middle linebacker. Yeah, I totally agree with you. So I think that's going to be a really good test for the interior of our offensive line as well when it comes to the
But here's what is interesting though, right? Is Zach Martin has faced Hicks before because he used to play for the Eagles.
That's right.
So there's some familiarity there. But I think what makes it difficult for BB, yes, there's the blitzing that can come in, but it's the stunting because the Browns do stunt a lot.
Yeah, they do indeed. And here's the thing, and this is kind of leading up to my next question, right?
Yes.
For likes of the offensive line as a whole, with BB, Smith, Guyton, Martin, and Steele, going up against obviously Myles Garrett, Smith, and potentially Thomas and Harris, whoever that may be in the interior. Yeah. It might leave. It really is going to be very interesting to see how we're going to utilize this run game, especially with Zeke, Rico Dowdle, and obviously with
Juice Vaughn and Lipke.
And Lipke, as we mentioned earlier. So give me your thoughts, Mike. How do you see how we're going to utilize the run game
in this game? So it's going to be like this all season. That how you project the running backs is going to be very convoluted because it's like it's a committee. How are they going to use these guys? All depends on how the coaches foresee this game sort of going. In this game, it's going to be Zeke who's the primary back. Not because he's the best running back and he's going to provide you with the most rushing yards this week, but because he's a great and brilliant pass protecting running back. And when you're facing, Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith, and as we mentioned, this formidable pass rush from the Cleveland Browns, you've got 2 rookie offensive linemen in there. So what better way to help those guys out and keep Dak upright than sticking a guy in there who's absolutely elite at pass blocking? Makes complete sense. And then, when you decide that you're going to try and get to your ground game a bit more, you can switch it up. You can put Dowdle in there if Zeke's blowing, if Zeke feeling confident enough to take some runs up the middle, some inside handoffs, then just keep it going. And just keep doing that until you're ready. Take Zeke off. And can you hear that? Did you hear that?
No.
The thunder and lightning then? Right above the house.
Oh, wow. No, I didn't hear that.
Wow, that was loud. But yeah, sorry, I'll try and ignore that. So that's how I think it's going to go. I don't know if you think any different. The bit that I find tricky, I know how I can see them utilizing Lipke, red zone as a passing threat on the flat. Fantastic. That's going to look good.
And a lead
It's
blocker as well,
Deuceborn.
potentially.
Definitely lead blocking. And when you think we're talking about Zeke playing a lot in this game, Zeke plays a lot better, especially from his days in Ohio State with a lead blocker in there, with a fullback. Loves it. He plays so much better.
Yeah, if anyone, if you, I'm so glad you mentioned it. If anyone can remember, it's Smith.
Yes.
Our former fullback. I forgot his first name. Oh my god, I should bloody know this. He said he also made the whole snapback, make fullbacks great again. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
went to play with the Falcons. Oh god, it's trying to do my
That's
head
right.
in. What's his first name again, Mike?
It's on the tip of my tongue. And there's somebody right now listening to this screaming at us.
Oh, I know.
He played he played linebacker and switched.
I've actually got his mother on friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like
He played linebacker and then he switched positions.
Yeah, but either way, look, when Zeke and Smith were playing together, and particularly that Pittsburgh game back in 2016, that game was a pure definition of how a fullback should actually help cater a good running back like Zeke. You saw the destruction that we caused in that game, and if Luke can actually get up to that some point, I think that would be great for the likes of Zeke and even for Rico Dowdle. But here's my thing, though, Mike. For this, I think for this season, how we're going to treat this running back by committee, Zeke's going to be the battering ram, Rico Dowdle's going to be the finisher, and like I said, Deuceborn is going to be the special type of plays. That's how I see this committee going to be run.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And you know that is, and you know, last year we spoke about this at great nauseum that it was the running game in the red zone that seemed to be the weak point of this Cowboys offense. And we've seen it many times. Pollard getting, blasted at the 1 yard zone and not being able to get in 1 yard zone, but from the 1 yard line. But, that is ironically Zeke's speciality. Like you say, the battering ram. But he's also a guy that will continue to get yards when you think the play is done.
I don't know if our listeners can hear this, but your connection keeps jittering, so I believe your thunder and lightning's having an effect here.
I think so. It is going absolutely mental outside. It is going wild.
Man, I hate to be in Wales right now.
It's hammering down as well. But yeah, that's the way I see it in terms of the running backs. If you want to move that along, then before I end up losing connection altogether.
Yeah. So now, kind of moving on to the Dallas defense, right? We've got Micah Parsons, like we mentioned, like D-Law, Marshawn Leland. This is going to be his first game in the NFL as a pro. Then we've also got the return of Stephon Diggs. Obviously, we're not got Delone Brand. Obviously, he's going to be out for little bit of time, unfortunately. So for likes of Kalen Carson needs to step up, and we've got like the re-emergence of Jordan Lewis, who's had a fantastic training camp. So what is your expectations, especially under this new defensive scheme under Mike Zimmer?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's moving to the cover 2, cover 4, which for guys like Diggs and even Jordan Lewis to a degree helps them out a lot. That is a real solid move. The good thing is I think the biggest thing for these boys is it's Zimmer. Zimmer is massive in being able to help these boys. I think keeping things simple, keeping things ahead of them, and then being able to just read and react to it, which is what Zimmer's all about. A lot of it's based on the linebackers.
Yes, sorry to stop you now. I'm so glad that you mentioned that. There was a video posted on somewhere on X. I can't remember who posted it. I can't remember if it was Patrick from DallasCowboys.com. I can't remember who it was, but it was showing you the difference of basically the pad drills. Basically, the machine apparatus where defensive linemen have to strike and kind of like move out to the side. So, whereas the defensive ends are being more aggressive, where the likes of Mazi Smith was actually stacking up and being reactive, then letting go. And that to me is like, okay, that's the difference we're seeing here. And that's what you want for the likes of Mazi Smith and for the likes of Osa Odigizor, especially when it comes to stopping the run, especially that.
Get eyes on the ball carrier and two gap, and this is what Mazzi was good at, in Michigan. And for whatever reason, they decided to try and do something different with him. Going back to the old draft moniker, when you draft somebody, elevate, don't create. And I think they tried to create something that Mazzi wasn't last year. And I think Zimmer's looked at Mazzi and gone, no, this is what you are. This is what you're going to do. And then, like you say, you go into these drills, you see him doing the proper drills, the way they're supposed to be done for how he plays, and you go, yeah, ticking the box. Well done.
Yeah, like if there's one thing I really appreciate what Mike Zimmer does, he tries to make it more simplified for his like for his players, his defense to get more on board, to know exactly what their role is in terms of their position. You're not having to jump from defensive end to become an outside linebacker or drop or whatever. Like you're not doing weird complete stunts or anything like that. He's very traditional in that regard.
Oh yeah.
And he's old school, and that's what I think that is exactly what we needed, especially someone towards like Micah Parsons. Don't get me wrong, Micah Parsons doesn't need a fire up his butt to get him motivated. He's that good, but I think with a coach like Zimmer, I think you might expect to see Micah Parsons playing as if he's on steroids on the field. I'm not joking. That's generally how I feel about it, because Zimmer has that ability to bring out the best in defensive players. If you look at his history way back when he was first at the Dallas Cowboys, look what he did with DeMarcus Ware. Look what he did in Cincinnati. All those different players like Geno Atkins, etc. And then he became the head coach for Minnesota and still had a major influence in his defense. He just knows how to operate that. So for him to come back, I'm very excited to see how this defense is going to operate going forward with all our starters now, because we got a wee taste of that with all of our guys trying to make the roster, and we're seeing some plays like we're getting interceptions from undrafted free agents and guys
Keeman Hall making an interception.
You're like, it's like, wow, we're actually having conversations. Does this guy actually can make the team?
Yeah. We did that.
There was so much crossing over. Like we were just getting unsure. But yeah, if that's the case with these guys trying to make the squad, what's to say what's going to happen with our starters? That's the question.
Yeah. And you're still waiting on to find out because they really went like hammer and tong at the end of training camp on the defensive line. So you're waiting to see what guys like Linval Joseph, Carl Lawson are all going to end up coming out like. What are they going to look like? So you've still got, although it's question marks, it's optimistic question marks on a position that you felt very nervous about. And me and you spoke very in depth about on the issues with the defensive line and that it lacked numbers. And now you're kind of like going, okay, I'm ready to see what this is made of, especially with what we've seen in preseason, as you say, with what some of these defensive backs were doing under the Zimmer scheme.
Yeah, and this is the one thing I'm kind of excited for. Not so much the defensive line. I'm actually very interested in the linebackers.
Yeah,
when
it's revamped.
You've got Kendricks, you've got Mars Lauerfeld. I think just with those two guys combined, with Kendricks,
old and young.
Well, not so much old and young. Nope. With Kendricks knowing the system and knowing how Zimmer operates, and with the type of mindset that Lauerfeld, who's got a mind like a sponge. Yeah. I'm not saying he's Sean Lee, because he's not played the game in the NFL yet, and I'm not trying to big him out but I'm just saying in terms of how he approaches football, it's a study of the game. When you look what Sean Lee was like, he's always in the film room learning, and we actually talked when we were talking to Dixon Edwards yesterday on Cowboys Experience Thursday, not yesterday, on Thursday on the Cowboys Experience show. He said it's like, you can be this gifted athlete no matter what, but if you don't have the mental capacity to play the game, to know the reads, to know what it's like, you're just basically just an athlete. You're not a football player.
Everybody's fast, everybody's strong in the NFL. You've got to find that other edge.
Yeah, if you don't have that,
Yeah.
then that's it. But we're almost at the end here, Mike. So before we do our score predictions,
Yes.
what is this week's Would You Rather?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so would you rather? This is the big one. What would you rather? That Tyler Guyton ends up having a solid game. He ends up 0 sacks, very little pressures, and you're like, oh, or would you like to see CD Lamb come straight out the gate and be the dude? I'm saying because you got Tyler Guyton, who's an important and integral role of this offense, but so is CD Lamb. That entire offense funnels through CD. He's been missing from camp. This is really his first time Cowboys fans are going to see him back. So what would you rather, Tyler Guyton or CD Lamb?
I'm gonna have to go with CD Lamb. I'm
Nah.
gonna have to, because let's be perfectly honest here. It's going to be near enough impossible for Tyler Guyton to give up 0 for 0 for 0
I
on
agree.
Myles Garrett. He is going to give up something, and at some point in this game,
Yeah.
I mean, if he was to do that, holy crap, yeah, it proves all of our doubts wrong in terms of listen, why did we pick Guyton? Why couldn't we go for Graham Barton or something like that? Like, why do we not? Why do we not try and jump ahead and try and get him? Like, that will throw all those questions right away. And this is going to be the toughest test for Guyton, pretty much so early on in the season, because I don't think there's going to be anyone else up that level as Myles Garrett for the rest of the season. Let's be honest here. So it's going to be a really good test for him, and it's going to be a good projection where he is. But when it comes to CD Lamb, though, Mike, if CD Lamb can just come out gun-ho and just play like CD Lamb normally plays, despite not being in camp, I'm all for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And like this entire offense is it's funneled through CD Lamb. Everything filters down from the running backs to the rest of the wide receiver core and what Jake Ferguson can do as well, based on what CD Lamb does on the outside and when he moves into the slot. Yeah, I agree with it. It's the CD Lamb show, you know. We talked about Cowboys going into a rebuild, and we were like, you don't want to have Dak, you don't want to have Micah Parsons, you don't want to have certain other players that are coming up for contract. You want to turn around and say, yeah, no, we're going to go into a rebuild. You go, okay, I understand. But it made no sense to not have CD Lamb. That was the one thing, the one player. So if that's the case, you have to say, I would prefer CD Lamb to be the best offensive player on this game between CD Lamb and Tyler Guyton. I agree.
Yeah. Well, in fact, I've actually got one more thing to add as well, Mike, before we do our score predictions. Give me your cheeky prediction of the game. It could be a certain play. It could be sacks for a player. It could be interceptions. It could be so many touchdowns. Give me your cheeky prediction of the week.
Yeah, all right. I'll say this, that the Cowboys, and he's going to be the first touchdown scorer of the year for the Dallas Cowboys.
Ooh.
And you go, ooh, all right. Is it going to be CD Lamb? We're talking Jake Ferguson? No. Pick 6, Malik Hooker.
Oh. I was completely at the bit. That is a cheeky prediction.
That is very cheeky.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to go. Oh, this is pretty obvious. Well, everyone knows I'm a big Brandon Aubrey fan.
I was thinking this one myself.
He's going to hit 250 yarders, and and I think he's going to have a total points of, so that's 6 points, potentially one more field goal. So I'm going to say he's going to score a total of 13 points in this game.
Oh, wow. So start Brandon Aubrey this week in fantasy.
So it'll be 3 field goals and four PATs essentially.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So you go, okay. So you're gonna have a big score when you do your score predictions then.
Yeah. Well, in fact, I'm trying to work this out based on my score prediction. Actually, hold on.
Yeah. So we already know it's 13 points, and that is 3, 6, 9, 12. So if you're gonna go,
we're trying to do maths here at the end of the show. It's
know.
not our forte. We do apologize, ladies and gentlemen.
So 6, and then if you say 4, so okay, I see he's got quite a bit to do.
Right. So 4 touchdowns. So that's 6.
4 extra points.
So 7, 14, 20. So 28 plus. In fact, my prediction's actually going to be wrong. I'm going to change my prediction now. I'm going to change it now. I've got to now. I've got to.
Yeah. So,
right,
you've got 13 points just on Brandon Aubrey alone, and you're saying 4 touchdowns,
which is 24.
Yeah. So that's you're up to like 37 points already.
37 points. Yeah. Well, before I mention my prediction, Mike, just hit me with yours. Then we can finish this show.
I'll let you write down. I'll let you do some quick scribbling, mate. Yeah. All right.
No, I've got it in my head now. I've got it in my head.
Okay, that's cool. I think this is going to be. I'm agreeing with you, the Brandon Aubrey show, but Brandon Aubrey is going to be the deciding factor. The Cowboys win by 3 points. It's going to be a low-scoring game. Cowboys are going to win 21-24. 24-21. I did that backwards. But the Cowboys win by 3 points.
Well, obviously, everyone knows now what my Cowboys score is going to be.
Cowboys. So we got the Cowboys score.
Yeah. So it's going to be Cowboys 37. I know it might sound very optimistic, but I have every ounce of confidence in my team, and I really do. And I'm going to say Cleveland Browns 27.
Fair enough.
Yep. So 37-27 Cowboys. But yes, folks, that is the end of our pre-game show against the Cleveland Browns. The game will kick off at 3:25 in Central Time. If you're there in Dallas, if you're in the United Kingdom, it's 9:25 p.m. And I believe the game will be available somewhere on Sky Sports, or if not on NFL Red Zone.
It is on Sky.
It's on Sky Sports. And if you're anywhere across Europe, wherever if it's on the Zone, which if you've got like the NFL Game Pass, you can watch it from that. On Europe, I believe it's going to be 10:25 in certain regions in Europe and 11:25 in the more eastern parts of Europe as well. And trying to figure out all the time zones and like Asia is going to be really impossible to determine because I can't think of it at the top of my head. I do apologize.
One day you're just going to have a load of clocks behind you with different cities.
That's actually quite a good idea. Actually, I should actually have that.
Yeah, all the different time zones going across.
Yeah, we should actually do that. Yeah. But anyway, folks, like I said, that's the end of the show. We will be back next week to give a general quick overview of the game against the Browns, then obviously leading up to our next game.
Saints.
Yeah. I almost forgot how we're going to play. This is the approach I'm now taking to the Cowboys season. I'm not thinking about the whole season. I'm thinking about one game at a time.
One at a time.
Like, once the Browns game's finished, then I can move on to the Saints. So the Saints were even on my radar till I had to think about it there. So there you go. But anyway, folks, like I said, we'll be back here next week. Mike, please tell everyone where everyone can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Kenfig Cowboy. Kenfig with a K, Cowboy with a K. And where can I find you, Mr. P?
You can find me at IamPeaceTo on X and Instagram. And be sure to go and give us a follow on our social medias, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit us up on Spotify and Apple Music Podcasts. But yes, folks, it's a good night from Mike and good night from me. And like as always here on the World's Team, it's not just America's team, it is the World's Team. We will see you guys next week. And go Cowboys. Let's go.
You've been listening to the World's Team Podcast. There's no other team like it in the world. Nothing more electrifying than the Dallas Cowboys. And we're here to prove it. We bring in fan groups from Germany, France, Brazil, the UK, Canada, Japan. We're everywhere, baby. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, But in the meantime, find us on Instagram at the.worlds.team, on Twitter at the_worlds_team, and on YouTube at the Worlds Team. How about them Cowboys?
And the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys?
See you next time.